Not long ago, I had a family ask me a question that I hear more often than you might think. Dale, mom was recently diagnosed with dementia. We've heard a reverse mortgage might help us pay for care. Can she still get one? I wish the answer were always simple. Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. And the difference often has less to do with the diagnosis and more to do with something many families don't realize until it's too late: timing. Today, I want to explain why timing matters so much, what families should understand after a dementia diagnosis, and how planning early can preserve options that may not be available later. Hi, I'm Dale Corpus, a senior transition strategist, realtor, and reverse mortgage specialist based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I help families figure out how to pay for senior care, especially when a home is involved. Whether they're considering aging in place, bringing caregivers into the home, moving to assisted living, or helping to understand how home equity might help fund care, my role is to help families understand all of their options so they can make informed decisions. This is another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions, powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we help families navigate the housing, care, and financial decisions that often accompany aging. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we help families navigate senior living, real estate, and everything in between. Hosted by Senior Transition Specialist Dale Corpus, this show brings you expert insights, real solutions, and stress-free strategies to make senior transitions simple. Ready to dive in? Let's go.
Step 1. Dementia doesn't automatically mean someone can't get a reverse mortgage. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is this: if someone has dementia, they're automatically disqualified. Not necessarily. A diagnosis alone doesn't automatically determine eligibility. People experience dementia very differently. Some individuals remain capable of making important financial decisions during the early stages. Others may lose that ability much sooner. The important question isn't simply, do they have dementia? The more important question is, do they have the legal capacity to understand the transaction they're entering into? Step 2, what does capacity mean? Capacity isn't determined by family members. It's not determined because someone forgot a birthday, or misplaced their keys, or occasionally repeats a story. It's about whether they understand what they're signing, how the loan works, what responsibilities come with it, and the consequences of that decision. Lenders have a responsibility to make sure borrowers understand the transaction. If there are concerns about someone's ability to make financial decisions, additional evaluation may be necessary. That's why capacity, not simply a diagnosis, is such an important part of the conversation. Step 3, what does a dementia diagnosis actually mean? One thing I think is important for families to understand is that dementia isn't one single moment. It's a progression. Many people hear the word dementia and immediately assume someone can no longer make decisions for themselves. But that's not always the case. Some people remain fully capable of understanding important financial decisions during the early stages, and others may experience a much more rapid decline. That's why it's so important not to jump to conclusions. Neither families nor professionals should automatically assume someone qualifies or doesn't qualify based solely on the diagnosis. Each person's situation is unique. That's why conversations should happen sooner rather than later. Step 4, why timing matters. Here's what I wish every family knew. Most families don't start looking at ways to pay for care until something happens: a diagnosis, a hospitalization, a fall, a wandering incident, or a caregiver becoming overwhelmed. By then, everyone is trying to make major financial decisions while also managing fear, stress, and uncertainty. Unfortunately, waiting can reduce your options. If someone no longer has the legal capacity to enter into a reverse mortgage, the option may no longer be available. Planning isn't about expecting the worst. Planning is about preserving choices while those choices still exist. Step 5, why families wait too long. In my experience, the biggest mistake isn't necessarily choosing the wrong financial solution. It's waiting too long to have the conversation. Parents understandably want to remain independent. Adult children often don't want to upset mom or dad by bringing up difficult topics. So everyone waits until one day the situation changes and now the family is making decisions they hope they'd never have to make. Under tremendous emotional pressure, The families who start planning early almost always have more flexibility. Those who wait often discover some options are no longer available. Step 6, can a power of attorney solve the problem? This is another question I hear all the time. We already have a power of attorney, so can't my brother or I just sign for mom? The answer depends. Not every power of attorney grants the same authority. Different documents contain different powers. Different states have different laws, and lenders have their own requirements regarding the acceptance of powers of attorney. So while having a properly drafted power of attorney can be incredibly valuable, it shouldn't be viewed as a guaranteed solution. If this is something your family may face, it's important to speak with an experienced elder law attorney before a crisis occurs. Step 7, this is about more than a reverse mortgage. One thing I tell families all the time is this: don't become so focused on one financial tool that you miss the bigger picture. A reverse mortgage isn't the goal. Good care is the goal. Sometimes a reverse mortgage is the right solution. Sometimes selling the home makes more sense. Sometimes downsizing. Sometimes bringing caregivers into the home. Sometimes assisted living. Sometimes memory care. Every family's situation is different. The financial strategy should support the care plan, not the other way around. That's exactly why I call myself a senior transition strategist. My role isn't to push one solution. My role is to help families understand all of their options so they can choose what's best for their unique circumstances. Step 8, the conversation families should have today. If your parent has recently been diagnosed with dementia, don't wait until decisions become urgent. Talk about housing. Talk about finances. Review legal documents. Discuss who will help make decisions if circumstances change. Meet with an elder law attorney. Understand what resources may be available. Even if you don't make any immediate decisions, having the conversations now gives your family a roadmap for later. Here's what I tell families. One phrase I come back to often is this: hope for the best, plan for the future. None of us knows exactly how dementia will progress. Every person is different, but we do know that waiting rarely creates more options. Planning early doesn't force you into making decisions today. It simply helps preserve your ability to make good decisions tomorrow. One of the hardest parts about dementia is that it slowly changes the kinds of decisions families have to make. First it's driving, then medications, then finances, then caregiving, then housing. Every family's journey looks different, but one thing I've consistently seen is this: the families who begin planning early almost always tell me they're grateful they didn't wait. Not because every decision became easier, but because they had more choices available when they needed them most. So can someone with a dementia get a reverse mortgage? Possibly. A dementia diagnosis alone doesn't automatically prevent someone from obtaining one, but legal capacity matters, timing matters, planning matters, and the earlier families begin exploring their options, the more flexibility they're likely to have as care needs evolve. Before we wrap up, I do want to mention something important. Every reverse mortgage program has its own guidelines and every family's circumstances are unique. Questions involving dementia, legal capacity, powers of attorney, estate planning, and financial decision-making can involve complex legal and medical issues. This episode is intended for educational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, financial, or tax advice. Always consult qualified professionals, including an elder law attorney, financial advisor, healthcare providers, and a reverse mortgage specialist when evaluating your family's specific situation. This has been another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast. If you're trying to figure out how to pay for senior care, especially when a home is involved, I've created several free resources to help families better understand their options before a crisis happens. You can start with personalized guidance, educational resources at my AI Resource Explorer by going to simplifyseniortransitions.com/start here. Explore conversations with elder law attorneys, senior living experts, home care leaders, fiduciaries, financial professionals, and families navigating these decisions every day by going to simplifyseniortransitions.com/podcast library. If you found this episode helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share it with someone who's helping an aging parent navigate dementia or plan for the future. I'm Dale Corpus. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions.